Hey everybody, welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Commander Coggins. Today we're looking at a ship, an old ship, a new ship, prehistoric in the sense it's been kept in perfect condition. It's a ship, Stuart.
It is a classic ship, if you will, and redone perfectly, I would say, almost. Yeah. We're looking at a ship from the latest episode of Lower Decks, the episode Veritas, and in that, I don't know, spoilers. You haven't seen it, and you don't want spoilers.
Thumbnail gives it away, so
Don't watch any further. I know, but shh. Anyway, gonna give the audio warning in case somebody's blind and watching this. Anyway, yeah, there's a Romulan original TOS Romulan bird of prey, which is great, and we get to see some interesting details, even the inside the bridge, which is nice. So, yeah.
And obviously, this is the first time, we've seen several birds of prey since the 60s. I guess if you argue the remastered version, but we haven't seen this bird of prey since then. We saw, this isn't the Enterprise era bird of prey, which is a prequel yet more advanced looking sort of. It's not the antique bird of prey, which is the Picard looking one, which tried to be the same but also modernized, so kind of impossible to know where it is. And yet Lower Decks created a exactly TOS bird of prey. No hims or buts, it just is. And I mean, obviously we expect it from Lower Decks, so that's good, Yeah. And I will say, I'll call out another bit, because we'll write out lots of things this week. In the museum, the picture where the chap is reaching up in the support, I said, that looks like a TOS Colleen Nacelle, and you're like, no, it can't be. It's like, no, it can't be, can it? It wasn't, but it was the next best thing. Almost TOS Colleen Nacelle, then Bird of Prey Nacelle. So I'll take a bit more credit. If I had thought one ship to the left, I would have got it right and been like, oh my god.
And I didn't even realize that, but yeah, it's supported on these pillars that he's climbing, and it's just the reflection of the floor or whatever, the yellow bouncing up on it that makes it look yellow. So
I saw the tube.
And in the wider shot where you got the classic TOS, Type F shuttlecraft, you can see the actual back of the Romulan ship. So if we would have got that, we might have been able to piece it together, although I don't think we could have necessarily.
No, they were clever at cheeking. But yeah, I mean, how did you feel? Obviously you liked it, but in terms of like surprise and it wasn't teased or anything, what did you say out loud? Or did you feel when it came onto screens? When it pan up from being like, up to...
My heart fluttered. It was all a quiver. It was nice to see it. Because, the first thing you see is he looks up and you see like the feet of the bird of prey. And looks really great. And it's perfect. Picard did try to modernize it, and it felt more like a motion picture era kind of refit or update of the ship in Picard. But here we got the true TOS one, no changes at all. So, well, until you get inside, but that's another story, which we'll talk about in a second.
Well, it can't be sure. And it's great because it we were expecting quite a lot of this museum. We didn't get much. But the fact that this continued to be a repeating piece, and actually rewatching it just now, it's actually on a lot of shots considering it really is a star by itself. It's so refreshing. It's so refreshing, and there's so many more questions. My God, how, who, why, if, when, cloak?
Why is it in a Vulcan museum? How'd they get a hold of it? Would the Vulcans have let them use it if they just asked? These questions come up, and you made the point of asking why it was maybe still had warp capable or whatever. And on my first reaction review, I forget who suggested it in the chat, but it's part of a mobile or a traveling display for different museums. It just actually flies to each museum.
And I countered with, but why still a cooking device?
Because it's all original. It's all original parts, fully restored.
Antique.
Just like a car. It's like a classic car. Somebody fully restored it back to mint condition, so everything works on it.
And obviously the cloak is not only effective, but completely effective against the Pterodactyls. Now, I know you can take that literally as, well, that's silly, this cloak's less advanced, or it's so less advanced that it's like on a low band frequency. Although credit to them, the artists, to do the outline of the ship. It's a great way of showing its cloak. That's very, very intelligently done. So well done them.
Yeah, that was very, very clever for sure. And there's actually a great shot in here that as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, because it's perfectly a wallpaper shot or a wallpaper screen for my computer. It's just a beautiful shot of it from underneath. And it's angled beautifully, and it's so perfect. As far as animation goes, it's just so perfect.
Although, looking at that exact view, in fact, there looks to be more bird on the nacelles. Is there more bird motif on the nacelles?
Yes, there is.
Yeah, you don't always see that in most versions.
No, you don't. But yeah, that is a thing that exists. So, but other than that, it's perfect. I mean, it's not the retro one that we got in Enterprise that seemed to be more advanced. I mean,
not really,
this.
just more sharp looking.
Yes,
etc. etc.
And then I love even how it translates over into Tendy's story, and we get the nice 3/4 shot of it, which is a great view as well. And Rutherford's like, "Hey, that's the ship from my story."
Yeah, I didn't hear it until second viewing. I was quite bemused with that. And the fact he goes to Romulus, I mean, how ballsy is that for anybody, let alone post Nemesis where we should be at peace with them? I mean, it's almost the exact same shot that the Enterprise E was on. And so after all this time, I know there was a coup and the government's not doing well, but within a year, within 12 months of us dealing with Shinzon, you steal a Romulan bird of prey and then take it to Romulus to then grab some guy who's a prisoner for a reason. And then the thing, they're like, oh, thank God, no one noticed us. It's like, what about the guards that were attacking you? They didn't notice you? I mean, that's a ballsy. They never did that in TNG. Go to Romulus. Whew.
I think relations with the Romulans might be a little bit different now because this is post Nemesis, right? So the Titans over there talking to them about peace negotiations and stuff. So is this a legit thing that they're doing? Kind of maybe jeopardizing the peace. Who knows? But
well, if they want to get extra canny, they should have had pan down from Romulus, the Titans flying over, and then as they go under, she's like, "Ooh, the Titan!" Done. That would have been like, because they've already talked about how thing else to be on the Titan. That would have been quite a nice thing. But let's go at the inside then. We are blessed with an unexpected cut inside. I definitely didn't think they were going to do that because quite a brave thing to do. And we get a full inside and a transporter room. What do you think? As Mr. TOS man.
I was very impressed because we've never really... The bridge we saw in Balance of Terror, that was a questionably, arguably a prototype ship. I mean, they did say that. So it was very simplistic. It had the center console with a periscope, a very small kind of room for the bridge, which never really was a fan of. This holds very true to the Romulan aesthetic that we see in TNG. It's got the purples, it's got the pinks and kind of the colors that are associated with the TOS one in the internals, but with more of a TNG bridge layout for a Dideridex. And I really like it. I really like the way that they approached it because it's a modernized view of something we've never seen. And you got to think if the Bird of Prey went into production and became, being pumped out, that they would, after the prototype phase, would become a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more adaptive inside. And I really like this. This is a nice tie-in, the color palette to TOS and the layout to TNG. So
I certainly recall TOS being a bit more grey, a bit more of the muted like the Connie was. But yeah, I think you kind of associate the 60s with more radical colours. These definitely aren't TNG fully colour palettes. That said, we watched the episode with Future Imperfect where they had kind of some funky colours. But as I said in our other review, it's in a museum. And there's no context behind that whatsoever. Right? Already, that whole concept. And so, if it had been the original bridge, you'd be like, okay. But if the bridge has been updated at any point since TOS, and how many times did Enterprise Classic be refitted the bridge until it got blowed up? Every time. So, it's not the end of the world, and it would make sense if this bridge module style was, 50 years old, and it was, it's good. I mean, it's, and even if they weren't thinking, okay, how do we modernize? How do we take a TOS one? They still said, let's not jump the shark. Let's just make a Romulan bridge. And that's important because it's I wouldn't, if you took away 3 elements, the 2 side panels which you can tell Romulan cars and the captain's chair, you wouldn't think it looked Romulan because we don't see that very often. But then if you said, what does a Romulan bridge look like? Google. Oh yeah, good job. It's hard to make certain things, whatever. Like even the you know, in the movie Nemesis, you know, a movie, the Valdor's bridge was just a redressed Enterprise E bridge. So even like that level of what does it look like? Well, a redress of the Enterprise E. So there's a bit of with that. And the transporter room though, I mean, underwhelming but yet whelming. You know, it is what it is. I don't know if the Romulans would necessarily want this many bright colours around. But hey ho, it's all good. Works fine for me.
Yeah, and any kind of changes or things you might not agree with can just be chalked up to it's a museum ship. It's been restored. It's been, you know, optimized. It looks flashy for the general public to go in and see. Maybe, yeah. So, and then we saw the transporter room in our glance sneak peek of this episode last week. And when we did our breakdown, we were talking about, this is probably just another ship that they used to infiltrate enemy territory. We didn't know it was Romulan. We didn't know anything like that. But now looking at it in context, yeah, the pinks and the purples very much tie in with Future Imperfect, with the you want to say Romulan, but they weren't really Romulans. Spoilers for that too, by the way. But yeah, I love the tie-ins there, so I think they did a fantastic job.
Well, definitely a weird palette, not what you'd associate with Romulans. It's kind of a tricky one. And definitely not a purple transporter. Like, that stood out to me as like it's not what it would have been, but again, museum. And Vulcan Museum. I mean, if this ship is all functional, that's the thing, it's such a nice... There's many explanations. It's not like the Picard one where it's kind of like, what? Huh? Okay. And they went to Romulus because they knew how to make Romulan stuff look good. Because you go to Romulus, the architecture's great, the lighting's great. Okay, the inside's pretty generic as all hell. I mean, that doesn't look Romulan really at all. I mean, you said it looked like a TOS or TOS set, which clearly showed it wasn't very, or a Federation.
TNG.
Right?
I said it looked like a TNG shit. The doors almost look like the holodeck doors.
Yeah, so clearly not Romulan looking, but I
yeah.
mean, it's just location. It's fine. Yeah, no, I mean, just good to see it. Good development. Glad it got good story. And as you said in our previous review, you just want to know how now. What? How?
How, when, why, who?
Well, we've seen the why and we've seen the who, but how?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well done, guys.
Yeah.
And this is the first show since Into Darkly where TOS canon has been respected, embraced, and still looks good. Like, it doesn't look, advanced as all hell, sure. But it's a period piece. It's a period piece of that era, so it looks good.
Mm-hmm. So bravo, guys. And there were other things in that museum that we could talk about. We're going to talk about in our, things we noticed, the Easter eggs video, because there's a Klingon D7 and stuff as well. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this. This has been fun to see this on screen and to talk about it, and just to have this piece of Trek history represented like this was fantastic. So Mike McMahon and the crew, you guys are doing a great job. Keep it up. And let us know in the comments what you thought when you saw this one. Were you excited? Were you like, jazzed? Or were you kind of disappointed? I don't know why you would be, but anyway, put it in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and just share it around. And if you can join the channel, please do. It's a great way to support the channel and help us out.
And of course the Patreon, also a great way. And just, say hi during our lives. Super chat high, higher super chat, be part of the conversation.
That's right. So until next time, guys, I am Captain Foley.
I'm Connor Holmes. Bye, guys.
See you.